Today we are going to talk about benign bone tumors. And as I mentioned before in the lecture, when we talk about benign tumors in general, we are talking about tumors which are trying to simulate the tissue of origin. To some degree, those tumors will simulate the tissue of origin, which means when we talk about bone, they will try to simulate bone. When we talk about cartilage, we will try to simulate cartilage and so on. Let us start. When we talk about benign bone tumors, we are talking about osteoma, either osteoid and compact. Osteoma have two types, or chondroma. And as you may know, osteo means bone, osteoma means benign tumor of the bone. Chondro means cartilage, chondroma means benign tumor of the cartilage. And osteochondroma, which is formed of both osteo, bone, and chondro, cartilage, and eventually osteoblastoma. I put actually this picture of elephant for you for some reason. Do you know this reason? If you study your lecture, you would know that the osteoma have two types. The first one is compact, and we call this ivory exostosis or ivory osteoma. Ivory means this is ivory. This is ivory. So, ivory osteoma or compact osteoma, as you can see here in this picture, it arises in the bone of the skull. So, ivory osteoma is a benign bone forming tumor composed of, we talked about what this benign tumor is formed of. Benign tumor is formed of tissue which try to simulate the tissue of origin. So the tissue of origin here is bone, and it is actually simulating a mature trabecular lamellar bone. And the most common site is the craniofacial bone. So you may come back now to the histology and ask yourself, what is the normal structure of the bone? This is something you have to revise by yourself. And this is actually the compact osteoma. As you can see, this is definitely bone, mature bone, and the bone is lamellar. So it is lamellar, full mature bone with lamellae, and maybe in between there is some fibrous stroma. This is another view. This is bone. You should know this picture from the histology. If you see this picture alone, you may say this is normal bone, but actually this is osteoma. How do we know this is osteoma and this is not the normal bone structure? Because clinically it was represented by a mass, and when we took this mass under the microscope, this is its picture actually. So this is not the normal bone. This is osteoma, ivory osteoma or compact osteoma. So osteoma, benign tumor of the bone, composed of dense compact bone. The bones most commonly involved with the skull, jaw bones, and sinuses. Okay, now we talk about osteoid osteoma. Osteoid osteoma, the bone, it will try to form or try to simulate the bone. It will succeed to some degree, but it will not form fully mature bone as we saw in the compact osteoma. Instead, it will form something we called woven bone, which is bone. Actually, woven means طري, bone طري. Okay, so woven means to be soft bone. There will be variable degree of mineralization, and it will be formed of bone trabeculae. Grossly, it will form this shape. As you can see, I am pointing at the osteoid osteoma now, and as you may remember, you have to go to full screen to see the pointer. Okay, this is actually, as you can see, in the center. There is a red area in the center, and this area is surrounded by this dense bone. So this area, red area in the center, this is actually called Nidus, which is small cortically based red gritty or granular, and this is surrounded by well circumscribed by compact bone, sclerotic. Okay, this is another view of osteoid osteoma under the microscope. Now you can see here, this is the nidus, and it is surrounded by sclerotic bone. And can you see, this is the nidus, and it is surrounded by compact bone. This is, if you couldn't understand, now concentrate. Can you see this in the center? This is the nidus, which is formed by the woven bone, and it's surrounded by sclerotic rim of mature bone. Okay, can you see here in this left side, all this red area on the left side is mature bone. We know this from histology, and this is actually the osteoid osteoma, which is formed of trabeculae with variable degree of mineralization. Usually it's lacking mineralization, and there is rimming by osteoblasts. This is so important to remember, that this trabeculae is rimmed by osteoblast cells. Okay, there may be some osteoclast cell, scattered osteoclast cell as well. This is another view. Can you see this red trabeculae, which is rimmed by the osteoblast, and this is embedded in fibrovascular syndrome. So the higher magnification shows an anastomosing network of thin bony trabeculae with variable mineralization. We talked about osteoma, and then we are going to talk about something which resembles osteoblastoma with little differences. This is osteoblastoma. The osteoblastoma is microscopically similar to the osteoid osteoma, but differs in it's larger in size and its bangs, and it's more common in the spine, with no remarkable pre-osteal reaction. Chondroma. Chondroma is the benign tumor of the cartilage, and there is actually chondroma which grows into the medullary canals. We call it chondroma. In means inside, actually, so it's inside the bone, the medullary canal inside the bone, and it may arise from the surface, which we call it periosteal or juxtacortical chondroma. There is also synovial sheath, which is called synovial chondroma. Okay, this is actually chondroma. As we know now, the chondroma is a benign tumor of the cartilage, which means grossly you will see something simulating the cartilage, and actually it did pretty job, and it actually looks exactly like any normal hyaline cartilage. It's bluish, glistening, semi-translucent as any hyaline cartilage. And under the microscope, it will exactly look like the cartilage. Okay, this is another view, and as you can see, this is chondroma, and because this looks exactly like the cartilage with glistening, semi-transparent, grayish white or bluish in color, and this is under the microscope. This is the hyaline cartilage. As you can see, we always recognize this hyaline cartilage by its bluish matrix, and there is lacunae, and inside the lacunae there is the chondroma site. Okay, the third one, which is osteochondroma. The osteochondroma we talked about, it has two parts: the osteo, the bone part, and this capped by cartilage. Okay, it's actually mushroom shape. You can see that this is a mushroom shape. This is a stalk of the mushroom, and this is like a hat of the mushroom. And as you can see, this is the bluish, glistening, semi-translucent cartilage capping or covering the head of the mushroom shape tumor. And this is actually the bone. This is actually the osteochondroma, and as you can see, it is mushroom shape, continuous with the bone, and actually it has a cavity continuous with the bone marrow cavity, and this part is formed of bone and it's capped by cartilage. This is definitely osteochondroma. This is another one, and as you can see here, the cartilage is much thicker. I put actually this to see the capping of the cartilage, which is more clear here under the microscope. And as you can see, this cap of cartilage, which is the bluish part on the left and the upper part of the slide, and this is actually the bone, the trabeculae of the bone. More closer view, all this bluish area above, this is the cap of the cartilage, and all this red area is blue is the trabeculae of the bone. Thank you.